Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of sports, social media, TV, film, pop culture, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on social media you know me as PD Beats. It's almost World Junior time, and we are excited to bring you back a special tradition on Popternative. We are joined by the director of scouting from TSN, Craig Button, as he joins us for our annual World Junior Popternative preview show. Craig, welcome back to the show, and it's World Junior time.
It is World Junior time. You know, it's not just the holiday season, it's the World Junior season. And that's always fun we watch these top players in their age group compete against one another in a high-end tournament.
Absolutely. You have a little bit of a cushion because I think you were getting worried. I think there's some guests that were creeping up to you. Haley Wickenheiser, Thomas Chabot, Philip Broberg. But I think this is your sixth time now, so there's a little bit of a cushion. You're the most appeared guest on the show, so you don't have to worry a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned like Haley Wickenheiser. How am I going to hold a candle to that one, right? I mean, Thomas Chabot. How am I going to hold a candle to that one, right? And you know, Philip Broberg. I'm pretty sure he's going to blow past me here pretty soon. Yeah. So it speaks volumes about you, Peter, because you know, people are open to participating with you and in this very. I find it a very neat format that you've developed. And, you know, when you have people that it's one thing for people to do it once, but when people want to do it again and again and again, I think it speaks volumes about you.
Absolutely. I really, really appreciate that. And we know you're a busy guy, so we'll get into it. This is there's always different storylines in the tournament. I mean, I want to start by a little theme that I'm seeing. A lot of teams are getting help from pros. You see a lot of teams getting pros that are helping them. Talk a little bit about that landscape. Canada and Sweden are two teams in specific that I think about that have gotten pros loaned to them for the tournament. That always gives them a boost.
Well, it used to be a Canada-centric theme where they were missing players at this time of the season, and because they were in the NHL, but it's not the case anymore. We've seen it in previous years where countries do not have their best players available, and when you're playing in the NHL, that's what all the players aspire to, and that's exactly where they should be playing. But in the case of a Barrett Hayton, you know, in a case of a Joe Veleno who was playing in the American Hockey League, or Rasmus Kupari, who's in the American League, going to go to Finland, or Tobias Bjornfot or Rasmus Sandin, who are in the American Hockey League. You know, when you can put them in a high level tournament and at a level that's above the American Hockey League, and, you know, give the players like the Barrett Haytons of the world an opportunity to go and participate when they're not playing very much. Like, in terms of development, Peter, yep. I think it should be a no-brainer for NHL teams. And they should be doing that. But it makes the tournament that much better. And when you consider that you look at different players that could still be made available, I mean, as we get closer to the tournament, you know, it shifts a little bit. The tides shift, and you look at, okay, who's the favorite? Who has a bit of better chance now? Okay, what does this mean for this country? So it makes it very intriguing, not just for the teams getting these players, but for the fans as they look at what their country's chances are to medal.
I want to talk about both groups. We'll start with Canada's group. It's going to be a tough one for Canada, being eliminated by Finland last year. I mean, it's a big first two games for those three countries, for Canada, Russia, and USA. That's going to be a very skilled group, and there's going to be a lot of speed in that. What kind of stands out to you in that group specifically? What are we going to be? What should we be looking for?
Well, let me just kind of qualify it on a macro level too.
Yep.
There's 5 countries that come into this tournament with a chance to win the gold.
Yep.
That's Canada, the USA, Russia, Sweden, and Finland. That's how it is every year.
Yep.
Now, we know that 2 of them can't medal, and only one of the other 3 can get the gold. But that's the reality of where we're at. So you have Finland and Sweden in one pool, and the other 3 in the other pool. So I've heard a lot about, it's the pool of death. It's the reality of the World Junior Tournament, and that's just where it's at. Now, the key here is for those three countries in the Canada, USA, and Russia is you want to finish first or second. Because first or second gets you the third and fourth place team from the other pool.
Yep.
Finishing third gets you Sweden or Finland. You don't want that in a quarterfinal. So that means for Canada starting their tournament against the USA and Russia playing Canada, those games should be highly competitive right from the start of the tournament because that's reality. Now, you have to get better over the course of a tournament. It's not fatal for your team if you don't win those games, but it certainly gives you, not that the path is easy, but I'll tell you what, there's a huge difference between playing a quarterfinal game against Sweden or Finland as opposed to Switzerland, Kazakhstan, or Slovakia, and there's no other way to put it.
No, absolutely. Things a bit differently. I've been thinking of some kind of storylines that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. I have about 4 of them that we're going to kind of go through quickly. And the first one we're going to start with is the goaltending throughout the whole tournament. But you think about Canada's 2 matchups. These are 2 goaltenders that people have a lot. There's a lot of people are talking about these 2 goaltenders with Spencer Knight playing for, Team USA, who might be one of the best goalies in junior hockey or college hockey right now that's not playing pro. And you have Askarov, who we know is very high in Russia on your list for the NHL 2020 draft. I mean, people are going to be looking at these goalies. Did you kind of expect that to happen, that goaltending was going to be a little bit of a focal point with those 2 teams specifically?
Well, I mean, number one, it should be. Spencer Knight was the 13th overall pick. I mean, he's a top flight goaltender. And I mean, he was at the tournament last year as USA's 3rd goaltender. There's no question that he's going to be the guy to lead the way for the USA, in my view. So, that becomes, I think, obvious for Team USA. With Russia, I mean, Yaroslav Askarov is an elite player. And the biggest thing you have to differentiate at this tournament is between what can a player do at this tournament as opposed to what his NHL potential is. Yep. Now, Askarov has tremendous NHL potential. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to carry the load. Now, I'm not suggesting he can't or that he won't. I'm just saying we got to separate those two areas of evaluation. Now, when I've watched Askarov play, all he does is help his team win. He's always played the age group ahead. He's always had success. And, for Valery Bragin, the head coach, he's not hesitant to use a young goaltender in there, but it's going to be about competence. He used Andrei Vasilevsky back in the 2012 tournament, but can Askarov carry the whole load? If you want to win the gold medal, you got to play 7 games in 10 days. That puts a big burden on a goaltender, puts an even bigger burden on a younger goaltender from a mental aspect. Do I think he's terrific? Yes. Do I think he can come into this tournament and be a really good goaltender? Yes. But I don't have any doubts that Spencer Knight will be that guy. I still think that with Askarov, you're waiting to see, despite very strong beliefs that he can.
For sure. Another point that I want to talk about, a lot of NHL 2020 eligible players will be playing in this tournament. A lot of them are at the top of your list. I think, at the end of the tournament, I think you might have 8 or 9 of these players that played in the tournament might be in your top 10 Craig's list in the new year possibly. Is this kind of a testament? Because this is something we don't see often, young players having an opportunity to play in this tournament. You want a lot of the 18 and 19-year-old players. You want the players that have more experience at the junior level. What is this a testament to? Is this a testament to the fact that players are becoming more skilled these days? Like, what do you think that means? All these amazing prospects for the NHL draft are playing in this tournament.
Well, why don't we go back to last year's draft, Peter? The first pick, Hughes, played in the tournament. Kakko played in the tournament. Broberg played in the tournament. Podkolzin played in the tournament. Ville Heinola played in the tournament. Lundell was a young player last year who played in the tournament, right? So when you start to go back and you start to look at previous years, Spencer Knight was the 3rd goaltender, right? I mean, this isn't anything new.
It seems like there's more, though. Like your list,
there isn't more. I just named 4 of the top 10 picks in the NHL draft last year that were there. Canada, I think, is a rarity. They usually don't bring as many young players. But do you know what that's a statement about? The 2000 born group in Canada has never been a real strong group. So when you don't have a strong group in one age group, what usually ends up happening is you got to start to go to the younger age groups to support it. So that's what's happened. And so now, and you lump in the 2001s, and that's where you start to see an opportunity for some of the, and remember, we talk about draft eligible. The late 01s, Dawson Mercer's a late 01. He's not an 02. No. I mean, the 02s are Drysdale and Byfield. Stop. That's where it's at. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you go back and you look and you see where players fit in their respective countries, and Germany's in this tournament. If they weren't in the tournament, we wouldn't be talking about Tim Stützle, right? We'd be talking about him at a different level. So, I mean, when you have high-end players and really good players, there's not this birth certificate bias anymore. With you get your best players there, and Podkolzin played lots last year because Braga knew he could help the team win. And that's going to be the same with Dale Hunter. It's going to be the same thing with Thomas Montan. It's going to be the same thing with all the other countries in terms of their young players are good enough to play.
Absolutely. This next one, I know you don't like the hypotheticals, so we'll talk on paper right now. My question has to do with it being on paper. I know you don't like them, but I'm going to ask you. Friend of the show, Philip Broberg, came on, talked about Sweden. One thing I'm noticing, that blue line is looking incredible, especially with Rasmus Sandin being loaned, and Tim Soderstrom's going to be there because Viktor Soderstrom will be there. Because
will Victor be there?
That's what they're saying. There was
he hasn't been named, and Tobias Bjornfot has been loaned there by LA, mm-hmm. and now you see Rasmus Sandin being there. That's
I read Sweden announced that Soderstrom will be there.
Oh, okay. But he wasn't on the original six.
No, he was not, but this happened yesterday, and because Boqvist will not be loaned. But my question, too, is you look at Ginning and you look at Nils Lundqvist. On paper, could this look like one of the better World Junior defenseman crop in the last 10 years, Craig?
I thought Sweden's defense last year was very good. And, Sweden's going to have a very good blue line. There's no question about it. And, you start talking about the light and the different types of defensemen they have, right? Tobias Bjornfot, he's a real competitive player. Broberg's a top-end skater. Then you start to go to Adam Ginning, a fierce defender. Nils Lundqvist, who's a really good puck-moving defense. Rasmus Sandin, who was brilliant last year at the World Junior Tournament. They're going to have a very, very strong defense. And they're going to be a hard team to forecheck against. They're going to be a difficult team to be able to pin them in and wear them down. And I think a lot of their ability to score goals is going to have to come from their blue line, either moving the puck through, quickly getting the puck up. They do not have a lot of scoring. Now, when the game is played on the big international rink, on the international size rinks, you know what? It becomes harder to score. So it's not just – so I'm expecting some lower scoring games, and that might work right into Sweden's favor. Because if they get into the high event type games where you got to get more scoring and more chances, I think that they lack in that area. I think their center ice position is good. I think they have enough players that really understand how to keep the game tight, but they don't have game breakers. Lucas Raymond is young, Alexander Holtz is young, but they're going to be two 17-year-old players they're going to be counting on for significant offense. But with the tournament in Czech Republic and on the international rink, with that strong defense, that might work to their favor, lower scoring games. They had a good defense last year, and they couldn't score last year either. And that became their undoing in the tournament.
No, absolutely. Before we get to your predictions, because everyone loves hearing your predictions of who's going to win the tournament, Canada, we'll go back to them. I like how you just said that it might be a difficult tournament to get some goals. Part one of the question is, what is the identity of this specific Team Canada gonna look at, basically, with them having to release one more forward? It's almost taking shape. And then two, who are some players we're talking about Lafreniere, we're talking about Byfield, we're talking about Hayton, we're talking about all those players. Who are some players that we're not talking about right now, Craig, that we might be talking about in a week on that team?
Yeah, a couple of things that I would say. I mean, it seems to me that the buzz phrase now is, what is your team's identity? In international competition, you want to build a team based on the pool of players you have available to you, and then give yourself the best chance with that composition to compete. International hockey throws a lot of different looks at you, different styles of play from the different countries, different types of challenges, and you have to be adaptable. And so when I look at teams, and like, I don't think if you want to go into a tournament and say, we're just this, well, then the games better be set up to be just this. Because if they aren't just this, you're going to be just on the sidelines watching as it becomes important. You have to be able to adjust, to make those adaptations over the course of the tournament within a game. So what does that require? I mean, I'm not even going to get into skating and skill. Everybody wants that. You got to be smart. You have to be a smart player. I look at this team, I see smart players everywhere on the ice. I see it in all the positions. So for Dale Hunter to be able to use different players in different spots and have that right through his forward group, have it right deep into his defense group, yeah. I think that's what you need. Again, 7 games in 10 days to win the gold medal. So you need a depth of quality. And I think Canada up front has that. I think that they're going to be 13 forwards deep and players that can play in all the different situations and can wear out a team. That's what you need, because you don't want to get worn out. I think their blue line, if they get Noah Dobson could be enough of a game changer for them to be in the favorites chair for the gold medal. He's that good. He would be the best defenseman in the tournament, in my view. He's that good if they get him. But even if they don't get him, they're still going to compete for a gold medal because they're that good. And, you can't win without goaltending. Everybody knows that. So I'm not going to say it depends on. I think they have some quality in the net, but I don't think it just comes down to the goaltending. I think they have a really deep team that can really sustain pressure and sustain good play and not surrender a lot. And Dale Hunter is an outstanding coach. There's no better coach for this team right now than Dale Hunter.
Absolutely. Prediction time. We love this part of the show as we wrap up. Take us through kind of some of the matchups that you think are going to happen and in the semis and the finals, and maybe some teams that you think might be making some surprises this year. We saw Switzerland was that team last year. Is there going to be a surprise team this year?
I don't know. What I would say is, Finland's missing a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but they're missing some significant players. Yep. But the one thing about Finland is they're always going to play together. They're always going to be a team that understands what their strengths are, and you know what, they're going to the whole is going to be greater than the sum of the parts. That's how they play. That's how they have success. So
absolutely.
It's never easy playing against them. I think Sweden lacks some scoring. So if they can keep the games tight and they can find some timely goals, then they have a chance. But I think the gold medal is coming out of the Canada pool. Mm-hmm. And I would look at the game on December 27th as a preview of the gold medal game. I think Russia-Canada on December 27th is going to give you the preview of the gold medal game. I think that the Russians are deep. I think that they, like Canada, are deep up front, have a very, very good blue line. Goaltending, again, is like I see no issues there. And, I think that you get to measure yourself in that game. Both teams, both countries get to see where they sit. But I think the U.S. is just a little bit short this year in terms of the high-end player. But that being said, when I look at their blue line and I look at the likes of Matthias Samuelsson and K'Andre Miller, I mean, you're looking at some big, strong, defensive, hard players to gain advantages on. Spencer Knight's a solid goaltender. So, again, they're going to have some depth. I don't think they go as deep as Russia and Canada, but they've been there. And you very well could be looking at gold, silver, and bronze coming right from that pool with USA, Canada, and Russia. I'm not going to say who I think. I mentioned about Noah Dobson. I think that we're going to have a little bit clearer idea later on or in the week once we find out what the Islanders are going to do. And keep in mind, the Islanders have Noah Dobson that they can release to Canada. They have Oliver Wahlstrom, who they can release to to USA, and they have Simon Holmstrom, who they can release to Sweden. So Lou Lamoriello is sitting on a trio of players that all those countries would love to have, and they're probably waiting to hear about them as much as anybody. But right now, I think the gold medal preview is going to be Russia-Canada on December 27th. I see them as just a cut above at this point in time. Noah Dobson comes, I'd put Canada in the favorite seat. If he doesn't come, Russia in the favorite seat.
And you know what? The Islanders are in a position the Chicago Blackhawks were a couple of days ago. We were waiting on whether Kirby Dach was going to be released to from Chicago to Canada. Same thing with Boqvist to Sweden. So we'll wait and see there. Before we wrap up quickly, you were calling the World Junior A Hockey Challenge final yesterday between Canada East and Russia. This is a tournament that I really watch a lot because, being in Ottawa, the CCHL, a lot of the players around the league that I used to do PA announcing for are in this tournament, like David Lafrance, Cole Kraft, Ryland Mosley, and shout out to Marty Dagenet of OJS. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to them. That was quite a game last night. East fell short, but that was an amazing game that you called yesterday, Craig.
Well, it was a really strong game, and both those teams. Again, we talk about tournament play with Russia and Canada East. You have to get better as the tournament goes on. Well, both those teams did exactly that. Canada East with a strong game in the semifinal against the USA. USA was rocking and rolling, but the Canada East and Anthony Noreen, the head coach of Team USA, he just said, boy, did they ever play a strong game. And he said, we couldn't look back and not feel good about our game, but give the goaltender, Devin Levi, a ton of credit. He was the MVP of the World Junior A Challenge tournament. He was that good. And, the first 10 minutes of the gold medal game, it looked like the Russians were going to really take it there. But then Martin Dagenet did a fantastic job with some adjustments. And then Canada East really got their legs underneath them. And from that point on, it was an even game through, you're looking at 60, 70, 74 minutes of even play before it was decided on a power play. And, when you consider how the players, really gave such a strong effort, both sides, Russia and Canada East. I mean, it was a tremendous game, for Canada East, real disappointment. But I'll tell you what about this 2002 Russian team. They won the U17 gold in St. John in November 2018. They won the Hlinka Gretzky in August 2019. And now they've won the World Junior A Challenge in December of 2019. And they are the favorites at the Under-18 Championship in April. So, this is a pretty special group coming from Russia. And if I add in Daniil Chaika, who won an OHL championship with Guelph, Yan Kuznetsov, who won a USHL championship with Sioux Falls last year, they have a lot of winning experience in this group. It's a group now that has a chance to run the table. And if they win the U18, this age group will go into the World Junior Tournament as a real strong favorite when it comes up to their age year.
Absolutely, year by year. Well, Craig, thank you so much for joining us every year. It's an annual tradition. We have you on for the World Junior Preview Show, the NHL Draft Preview Show, and we thank you very much for doing this, and I wish you all the best and happy holidays as well.
Yeah, you don't have to just have me on for preview shows. We can come and talk about music or what's happening in pop culture and everything. But you can't just limit me to one thing, Peter.
I was disappointed that your Popternative mug didn't make a. You finally had the mug.
Oh, I do. Sorry, I didn't even think. Listen, we're having a kitchen rental. And everything is just about completed, but all our stuff is in the basement and in boxes and everything. So even if I had thought of it, it wasn't going to be easy to figure out where it was. So, but next time.
I'll make a note for 2020. Avoid penciling in Craig Button as the Popternative hockey preview guy.
Well, I'll do the previews, but it doesn't have to solely be the previews, Peter. Okay? There's other things. I was talking about music. Do you listen to CBC Radio too?
From time to time, yes.
I always listen to it in the morning. Raina Doris, she just went down to World Cafe down in the United States. I always have it on in the morning. And now again, I'm still listening to it, but this morning I have the new Coldplay album, and they were talking about the song Orphans. Do you know anything about the song Orphans?
No, I haven't heard their new album yet, actually.
So the song Orphans, and they were going through, this is what I love about it is that Chris Martin's son is part of the song in one area, and his daughter is part of the choir in another area of the song. So here's Chris Martin with his kids as part of the song. I think it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. Well, you know what? We want to get some more musicians on, so maybe we can finally have that co-hosting thing we were talking about happening. Next
maybe.
time.
Well, maybe you should phone Raina. Maybe you should phone Raina Duras. I mean, she's terrific, and maybe she can hook you in with Chris Martin.
That'd be great. No, that'd be amazing. Seriously, thank you so much, Craig, and happy holidays.
Same to you, Peter, and to your family.
Absolutely. Well, this has been our Popternative World Junior Preview Show with Craig Button. Enjoy the World Juniors, everyone, and until next time, this is Craig Button and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.